computer not. Okay. Well, welcome to the July 12th Conservation Commission meeting. Sandy Crystal Chair. I guess we'll go around the room.
I'm Bob Ball. I'm Dick Ivory. Mike Hanson.
And Alvina Sneggert's recording secretary. Okay.
And Wendy Waskin is joining remotely.
You need a cutout on the chair. I know. Okay. All right. So I think we'll start with Turry Pond. Dave and Bob, I picked up, in my box, the lab stuff that we get. I apologize. I think it's up into the office on
Okay.
Friday, so.
Okay. So, Dick and I did another set of measurements on Turry on June 11th. And so we got the results from that back. And I just want to talk a little bit about what we found. And we haven't got some of the results back from the test we did this previous week. We won't get those for a while. We're at least going to talk about what we did back in June. And we did the normal measurements on the pond, we normally do. A couple of concern that I thought might raise at the meeting, the phosphorus level we saw out of the fire pond is elevated for some reason. No clue why. The reading we got was up at 41. What's that? Could be. So at any rate, that is the phosphorus is one that has been continually going up on the ponds. The DES recommend that's something to keep an eye on. So we'll get another measurement on that this week and see what's happening there. The other thing that was a concern, we've been seeing this all along, is the conductivity and the chloride levels between the fire pond outlet and the culvert on White Rock.
That's right. I think that you had that diagram.
I have a diagram in the packet. If you look, I think it's like the third page back in the packet.
Was it in the packet or was it the one that you sent?
I sent it, and I think it's in the one Sandy sent. But just to kind of recap.
It's the previous picture, because it has.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the chloride level coming out of the pond there, one showed in red, which is 53 micrograms. And as you go downstream, right behind it, on the other side of the road, it jumps to 95, and then down at the culvert itself, it's up to 128, which is pretty high. The connectivity, you can see that from the other thing we had here, is also high. Connectivity at the fire pond outlet. Was up at 298, and then just continued to go up as we went further down. And down at White Rock River Road, it was 143. So just to give you some idea where that is, the latest report we got from DES was David Niels' report, because he did the 209 lakes. And the median out of those lakes, and even for eutrophic lakes like we have, was 74.
The chloride?
For conductivity.
Conductivity.
For conductivity.
74.
So we're at the 75th percentile was at 140 microsiemens, and we're way up over that. We're actually at the 86th percentile. which is one of the highest in this area.
So
So,
you know what would be the cause for that?
well, I'm better taking the measurements and figure out what's going on, but
I mean, you have the two roads,
at the two
first of
roads,
all, right there.
I think given it this time of year, and the fact it just had rain, it may be an indication of groundwater, but I'm not an expert on that. I don't know.
And then you have the development that's just a
Just
gradient of that, White Rock Senior Living,
Right.
and you have roads through there,
Yeah.
as well, so.
So this has been a recurring theme there, and I guess the other thing is the fact that we're seeing it now might be lead more towards groundwater. We were seeing it during the spring runoff too. The measurements, you can see the measurements that we took in the spring during the snow runoff. The other issue, I had said something to Sandy about the treatment of the ditch on the north side there, White Rock Road, is not ideal for stopping the flow of stormwater. So we might want to talk to the town some point about doing a better job there on stormwater management on that. It's essentially paved for part of it, and it just runs straight down. There's not any riprap or anything. So that may be one issue we can look at. I don't think that was contributing to this because we were taking measurements further up.
Right. And it's also, the chloride is gonna get there no matter what. But the phosphorus, you'll be able to
Yeah.
hold back if you
Yeah.
keep the erosion and the sediment from.
Yeah, and that's something I don't know. If you do hold the chloride in the soil for a while.
It doesn't stay, it doesn't stick to soil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know what could be done, or maybe not.
yeah.
It's something we look at. And then, I guess we might talk to the town some point about what they're using there in the winter for controlling, for ice and snow, and maybe even the development that's up above there,
Right.
to see whether they're using a green certified provider for the salt. The other potential thing could be any discharge from water softeners up in that area. So,
Although they're on the public water system,
I
and
don't
I don't know if they,
know if you can discharge that through a public water system or not. I know if you have a septic system, maybe.
right, but you wouldn't have you may not have a softener.
May not have a
if you're on
softener, yeah.
Public water system, yeah. But, my thought was also, I think there are a number of things that may be improvements that could be made that we could probably sit down and talk about, and get information together that on possible solutions so that when we present it to, Tim.
Yeah, we need to have enough data when we go there. Really
Right,
good stuff.
right.
And it's hard to get data with this, because everything's changing all the time. But we're getting several years data now, and it's indicating this is an issue here. And I guess relative to the phosphorus coming out of the pond, we can see, I guess, if that goes away over the summer because of the geese. But that is, the median for the eutrophic ponds for that is 20 for the state.
It was 41.
41, so we're at the 75th percentile for that too. And we are, that's one that they have that has a long-term trend of increasing for, that's clear data. So, I guess one question Dick and I is whether we should continue to take that data point there at the green marker. You've gotten special permission to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the chloride, it'd probably be in connectivity, see it's one additional spot. If it's consistently, look at how it kind of jumps,
And there seemed to be some groundwater coming in there,
Hmm.
back in that area.
Yeah, I wonder if that house has a water softener.
I don't know.
That might be interesting to find out. Yeah,
So that's where we're at.
okay. Okay,
And
well,
we'll
great.
get, we'll get another set of data from what we did this past week and
Mhm.
a couple of weeks. Okay, this must be from last month.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess you have the summary
I have the
table
summary.
already.
Yeah. Sarah sends the summary.
Okay, all right, that's good. Yeah, those packets were in the, in fact, I have to look because it may have the invoice in them too.
Okay.
I just
Well,
realized.
they want you to pay each time. You have to pay.
You
Okay.
have to pay, yeah,
Each
you
time,
have to pay each time, yeah, so.
There
okay.
shouldn't be a charge in there for the chloride.
Right, right, it's the phosphorus that we end up paying for.
So
Okay.
we should pass this information along to the subcommittee as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, if she gets data from DES,
Yeah.
it's in their
I'm not sure
END.
how, I know it's the title of the city, that's
Right.
shut down from the group, but we just keep hearing the move on. More people that closer with it, and definitely get onto into their radar.
Right. Okay. I don't think there's anything else under the so thank you for doing that.
Well, I might just add this report, if you want to take a look at it. David Mule's reports online.
Oh, right, the
Very
lake
good.
trend, yeah,
It's New Hampshire Lake Trend Report. Torrey Pond is in it. It's one of the 200 and some lakes they did. And they broke it out by eutrophic lakes and eutrophic. So it's really a good report.
mhm. All right, good. Great. All right, next on the agenda. Move things around. I know Rick or somebody's going to.
Rick Geddes, 27 Dunbarton Center Road, currently hoping to turn it to Blevins Drive shortly. Do we want to work off of the plan that's here? I have plans here also, if you want me to put it up, you tell me what your preference is.
So that's the one Wendy can see. She can't see
This
where
one?
you're pointing, but she can see the
Oh,
plan
okay.
at least.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
So what we're basically looking for is a conditional use permit. We're going for the planning board at the end of this week. And it's basically to cross through mostly wetlands buffers and a small amount of wetlands in order to put two driveways in. One that is here, which will access this lot, back in here, 25 acres plus. The other driveway will come off the hammerhead up here around to access this, which is approximately 15 acres. I think you have the reports as to the number of what the impact is, so on and so forth. We were out there this weekend looking at it. The town has asked that we reduce the grade at the bottom of this. That will reduce the amount of impact by about 2,500 square feet. Aaron is finalizing that. I thought he would have it for tonight, but he didn't, as far as that goes. So the main impact is a crossing on this driveway here, which is going to entail what we believe from Fish and Game will be a box culvert. The issue at this point in time, we did a 4-foot box culvert in the initial staffs, which will handle a 100-year storm as far as water. The question will be, you people may know it better than I, as far as if they require to be a little bit larger for animal crossing inside the culvert. So Aaron's position is that they may accept the 4-foot as it is. It may go to a 6-foot, but that would be probably the maximum. And that's the last thing he's waiting for from Fish and Game in order to file his state permits for us. Everything else is pretty much done. On the other one, we're just talking at the culvert at the very top over here. The existing culvert here stays where it is, which drains this section of wetlands. We have this small passage right here, which will be going across in order to access this area that's right up in here. So that's the basic. So this impact on this driveway is mostly in the slopes is going to be the impact area. This driveway is existing up through here. We then turn, we just impact a small amount of wetlands right in this corner here, and then we get into the uplands up here, and then we have a little drain, I would call it drainage, which drains down to the wetlands, and that's where we were putting a culvert and impacting up there also. So that's the basic of what we're looking for. The original, we came here a month, 2 months ago, or whatever it was, we were looking at bringing a driveway in through here to get through here. So we had several hundred feet here, and at that time, we were looking at a third lot, crossing this to get to this uplands. We changed it to 2 lots at this time, accessing here, and really minimizing what was going to be impacted on that. So one of the things I would say to you is that Dennis and his wife Joni, who is sitting there, that's my wife Maura that's sitting there also. So we are end users here. Dennis and Joni are looking at building here. Maura and I are looking at building here. Dennis and I are both builders. So one of the concerns were, as far as, whoever's in here with a machine, so on and so forth, we will be doing our own excavating, we will be doing our own building, we will be doing everything there, pretty much start to finish. So we are not only end users, we are also the builders, the site workers, all of it. I have all my own equipment. I've been in town now for about 35 years building, so I have my own excavating equipment and all of that. So we will be doing everything ourselves. So as far as this project goes that we are looking at, we are not looking at outsourcing any of this. The 2 grunts are right here. We'll be taking orders from the other 2 that are. He has his boss and I have mine. So. Questions?
Did you address the CUP narrative? Was the narrative done?
Yeah, that should have been sent to you. That was the one that answered all of the questions?
Right.
Yeah, that should have, standards for granting a conditional use permit.
Right, okay. Yeah, I don't think it
Should have been, it was,
came to the.
there were some things that may have got crossed in the beginning. The heritage,
Right, yeah.
report that I thought Brian and Aaron said he had sent it.
Actually, Alvina,
Yeah, so I got it in today.
Yeah, we have the natural.
Yes, no, that was just another item that was missing. So I don't know if this was, when Aaron did it, he said that was part of his package, so I don't know if some things might have got deleted, or they just computers that happened occasionally, but yes, he did do the narrative as to why. So the basic narrative is, the reason we are crossing through the wetlands is to reach the buildable uplands in these 2 locations. In order to get to any place on this property, no matter where you are actually going to go, there is no better place. I mean, and I Paul, were you there this weekend? I didn't think so. I wasn't sure if I was, I'm getting a little older at this point. But anyone that was out there would see that the easiest way to access any of this property is from this driveway here, which has been existing for many, many, many years, and to use this access, which has been here for many, many years, getting to this area here. Any other way coming in through here or cutting across any of the other would be really getting into the wetlands and recreating what's already there. So the goal that we had as we sat down with Aaron and we had an engineer also, was, and that's why this is quite a complicated little driveway here to make the switchback. However, it is the only way that you can make this access, keep the driveway within the 10 to 12%. We're going to ask for a waiver from 10 to 12% when we go to the board on Thursday evening. So that allowed us this access here to then work by bringing it to you. Because once you get here, you have a quick slope right in here. So by coming here and just making this cut, we tried avoiding this, but we ended up going to like 14%, 13.5%. We were like just shaving it to get up through there. By just barely touching the wetlands right there, we keep that down to the 12%, which is, I believe, will be allowable by the town on Thursday evening. It's been granted before, and we'll be asking for that waiver again when we go on Thursday. So that's the main reason. Is it pretty straightforward? I think so. Is it a reasonable request? I think so. Is it the best thing for this piece of property? To me, it is without any doubt.
I was a little confused on there, how much of the road was existing and before, how much you added to the road. And Was the road put in as a forestry use?
We have different dates, going back. We had somebody telling us it was there back in the 40s. So why it was there, I have no idea, none whatsoever. So the roads, so we haven't done anything to it.
Right.
So this road coming through this culvert, we do have somebody that said they had put a culvert in there when they did the logging, but they took it back out.
Right.
So there was a culvert there at that time, and then that was taken back out. But that has been there for many, many years before here. And then this one here, which was put in, has been there long before so we haven't done anything to any of these. These were all pre-existing. And I believe Ken Blevins was looking at building here back in the 70s, and he did that portion back at that time. So these have been there for a long, long time. We have not done anything to them whatsoever. The only thing I've done with the machine since we've been looking at this property is I went in and I did a test pit up here, which I showed the other day. And the only reason I did that was to show that we could make that cut and that we were not sitting on ledge right in there. And then I did a test pit over here, just looking at, again, were we 3 feet to ledge, which we weren't. I went down almost 11 feet. And we did do a test pit out here, just beyond that ledge area where we showed where the Dennis and Joni are looking at building theirs. And we went down like 7.5 feet in that area there. So there is ledge in different areas, but we did some test pits out there to make sure that we were not going to get out there and bounce right into something immediately. So that's the only impact that we've done out there.
So will you have to do any work on the berms or anything on that road that's existing?
So on this
I know you
one,
gotta grade that one. And
this one here gets graded. This one here, we don't do much. I mean, I don't see any berms going in there. And when you get where the culvert is going, so that culvert shows, that's in the design. I can show you here. I believe I have that. It shows a couple of like sidewalls coming up. Oh yeah, it does here, I think. Is that the one, Dennis? Didn't we have one that showed?
I saw one ahead.
Yeah, so it basically shows that when you go across the crossing, it's a box culvert and the sides are raised like 24 inches. So there won't be any dirt or anything. The head walls will be built. It's raised on the box culvert and it's plenty wide enough before you get to it. It's like 40 feet wide. So there is some raising where the culvert goes in, but it goes across and it comes back up through there. So that will not have any shoulders. On mine, it will have shoulders going through here. There's a little dip. There was one little kind of a wet spot that was in there. So that will get raised a couple of feet and then we'll have some impact. Most of the impact is shoulders.
Is that dip where a culvert will be put?
There's an existing culvert in there for drainage.
Oh, okay.
And they did the calcs on that and it fits for that. So that culvert is existing. The only one that I'm adding is up in this top, where you saw the nice one that was over the side.
I was just wondering if any of the work you're gonna do on the berms will be in the buffer, the wetland buffer.
Oh.
That was my question.
Well, there will actually be some wetland impact on those
Yeah,
berms.
it's in one of
The
the,
berms will be some wetland impact.
Yeah, but this right after culvert.
Yeah.
That I understand, but there's culvert that skirt that almost, or wetland skirts it almost all the way up through there in places.
No, there will be no, that was not getting extended out.
Okay.
He'll be, I mean, you might get gravel 6 inches, but that's what we're not raising that through there. So that is not going to impact through there, no. And that's really wide when you first go in there. It's gotta be 35, 40 feet wide.
Almost 35 feet.
Yeah. So that won't impact that. We're talking about a 15-foot driveway.
Right.
So that doesn't get wide enough.
The other question I had was, the grade, where are you gonna grade there? It's real steep now, it's like 20-some% or something like that.
Up in here,
Up in here, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you getting an alteration of terrain permit to do the work up through there?
we're not looking at impacting all that much, no. Alteration train is over 100,000 square feet. We won't be anywhere near that. For driveway impact, Aaron had, the initial driveway that he had designed impact was around 16,000 square feet. For a 15-foot driveway, 1,100 feet came to about 1,600 square feet of impact. So let's double that for the impact on the slopes. Goes to 16,000, 32,000 square feet. I don't see the house lot up there being more than 100 by 100, 10,000 square feet. Not even going to, we won't get anywhere near that 100,000 square foot mark, which would be an alteration of terrain. No, the only reason we're looking on the slopes, the way I see it designed is, it will probably be like a 6-foot retaining wall back bring it up towards level, is what we'd be looking to do there. So, that's how I see that coming, but we're looking at downsizing our house and so on and so forth, so. And you think of it, you say, gee, 100 by 100 seems like a really big piece, but impact-wise, at a 10,000 square feet, it's fairly minimal for that. So we won't be anywhere near altering the terrain for that.
Anybody else have any questions? Someone want to make a motion?
I think we make a motion to.
I guess, I don't know, support the CUP?
Yeah, endorse the CUP.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out. How many people were picking tips on? Oh, you can.
Don't be.
Not leaving yet, but let's see how this goes.
There a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Now I'll say thank you.
Now you gotta do the work.
That'll be happening. We're all good, right?
Yeah.
Say nice, Sandy. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you
Have a
for
good
coming
evening.
out too. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Even though the text wasn't so bad.
It wasn't so, I was still picking some out Saturday night. So,
I
yeah,
picked my
was-
last one last night.
Yeah.
My back of my legs, I had two stuck.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I had two.
Oh, yeah. They were good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I picked some off when we were done. And it was nothing like it. No big deal. And I got home, and I found a couple others. And then I decided, oh, wait a minute. So I had to sit on bottoms of the pants. I flipped up the little overhang there, and I found like 6 or 7 of them between both legs. It was like, but it was like good because that stopped them.
Right, yeah.
So at least I was able, I mean, if I hadn't found them, it would have been hopeless from storing, and they would have been all over the house. But they were just like, they just kept coming.
Right. Yeah, for this project, when they do a wetland application, it'll come through and get our review. Again. So. Okay, website update. Thank you to Bob for sending in his suggestions.
Well, I actually brought some.
Okay, that's good,
So
thank you.
we can,
Okay, that's fine, yeah, that's fine, I didn't do anything with the ones that I got early. No chocolate bars if anybody wants. Dessert. Or dinner. Okay. Do you want to put the Bow website up there? The Conservation Commission website?
Let's see if I
Right
can.
there.
You want to do the web, oh, maybe that will, hold on. If I go here,
You may need to do the stop sharing and then reshare.
I'm just gonna try to get to, the website, the bar's on the way. Is that better? And then we just go to homepage and Conservation Commission. Is that good?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, good. You just move it just down, just so we can see all the tabs that are there right now.
I guess that's the best. Oh, which tabs?
To the blue ones on the side.
Oh, right.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So, Bob, do you want to review what you were suggesting?
Okay, maybe Dick wants to go first. Okay. So I thought we ought to focus the links around the things we actually do. And then get rid of anything that we don't really do or we don't control. So with that in mind, I thought the 5 links I came up with, the first one we call something like natural resource management. And that's primarily be our storybook we're doing for the NRI. And then I thought another thing we're responsible for is like management of town forests. And there's like 15 of them. I couldn't, don't ask me to name them because I couldn't. But it might be good to have a list of those and then our forest management plan for those forests, the ones that we manage the forest on. And then maybe something on there that we have like the status of land cuts, you know, we're planning on going to cuts on that. So then the third thing I think we do is like water quality and basic monitoring, surface water things. So I'd have another one called ponds and streams. And then, although we do conditional use permits, the other thing we do is get involved in commenting on state permitting things. Wetland permits, ownership training, that kind of stuff. So I would think it would be useful for people to have a link telling them when they need to get a permit for contacting natural heritage or something like that. Like this is when I've seen some of the other towns had that. This is when you need to get a permit for this. And then the 5th link I had was called Get Involved. And you could have things on there on how to donate money, or of course to a town. They have volunteer opportunities, and there's explicitly how to report an issue to the conservation chair, if this is game, DS or whatever, that kind of stuff. And then also if you want to report invasive plants, there's a place to put that. So that's the 5 links I was thinking. I would get rid of all the other tabs.
Just to let you know, we can't get rid of the agenda minutes, join or volunteer, and public meetings. That has to stay on all the boards.
Well, it's duplicated. You don't need it 2 places. There's a public meetings calendar on the right.
It's just the way the website was set up, and we're trying to keep it all for the
Well,
same.
just the join or volunteer is there.
That's for all the boards. So that's for this, actually leads to the page where it's a volunteer application for all
Yeah.
the boards. This is the way it was set up, and we were told we're gonna keep them all together, and this is something we have to have on each page, just
Well-
like the setup of the first page.
Okay. Well, it doesn't need to be in 2 places.
Well, we could also have a get involved that has the non-volunteer stuff.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm just
that's-
talking about the public meeting calendars on the right there, and it's also public meeting calendar on the left. We don't need 2 places.
I'm just
Well,
working with what I've been
yeah.
told.
Well, on this, the thing is that on this page, at least when you go to it, it goes right to the Conservation Commission one.
Right.
Whereas the other one, it's like everything.
So just one view.
Yeah, yeah.
I get rid of all the links to DES stuff because they probably don't work and.
Well, Alvina actually corrected most of them, and I did go in and see there were,
Well, the point is, they may work today, tomorrow they probably won't, you know.
well, then,
All right.
yeah. Well, the
And
thing
we
is,
don't
we don't need all
We
of
don't
it.
do it. We don't do it, right? So I'm trying to simplify it.
Right.
I wouldn't have any duplication with open spaces or the rec department. You know, they got web pages on all the trail opportunities.
Right, but I think, I think we need to link to it, so we could have trails and we can link to theirs. so that if people come to the conservation, first of all, they should know that we are affiliated with trails. Because we are, we have jurisdiction over the town forests. They, I mean, we're gonna be talking about trail maintenance issue shortly and
Yeah,
stuff.
I
So,
agree. In the town forest, we do. Any town, but other than that, we don't. Right? All the open spaces have places that we don't.
right, they have land and easements in other places, right?
I was just trying to get at things that we really control and do. That's what my thought process is.
Right. Well, okay.
Well, I can appreciate that because, it's always best to find like the little things down to what we do. But it is nice to have the connection to other things that are related to conservation, like the trails, like there's one of these here had backyard composting, which is something that is handled by, there's another group in town that does that. Off the top of my head.
Well, I know there's a solid waste,
Right, so
recycling.
there's a recycling or whatever. So, it would be nice to be able to link to those things from here, so that if somebody's looking at, they think, oh, conservation, that's got to
Right.
do with outdoors.
Right,
And, then they can come and at least get connected to composting, get connected to trails, get connected to town forest, it's ours, but,
right. Thinking like.
I mean, I don't like to duplicate, but
Right.
I do like the idea of having places, multiple places where people can get that information, get to that information.
Right, because we're not going to, redo a whole page of stuff. We'll
Right.
generally try and point,
Pointing them in
but just people will probably come to conservation because in most towns, there's a trails committee, trail subcommittee, whatever, to the conservation commission.
Mhm.
That's how it is,
Well,
so,
I agree with you. I think the confusing thing for me gets though, if you go and get to these things the way most people do is you do a Google. You do a Google, I
Some
want a
people.
trail
yeah,
to get to something. Sometimes they'll take you to here and then the link goes back to where the information really is. So that should be fixed up. So if somebody does a Google, it gets to the right thing. And that has to do with how they set up the meta characters and everything on the page. That's where it gets
yeah,
confusing.
well, we don't have control over.
Oh, it should. I mean,
I hear you.
I mean, I said this before. This isn't Field of Dreams. You're not gonna. It's not like you put it here and people will come to see it. It doesn't work that way. You have to have a plan, and you have to look at the data over time on how people use it.
Yeah.
I did the Trout Unlimited website for a number of years, and I got a report from. We hosted it through GoDaddy. And we've got a report every month. Here's the hits you had on this web page and where it came from. And then we would look, oh, we're getting a lot of interest in that. We're getting a lot of interest in that. And you can actually manage it. If we don't, we're just shooting in the dark.
Well, the thing is that we can also, and I can also send an email to Dave Stack and the select board and say, we feel that it would be helpful to have this information.
Yeah.
And, what is involved in trying to get that, or is
Yeah.
it possible?
It'll help save our town, it'll help the staff.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I know from DES, the agencies, biggest hit pages were the Wetlands Bureau. I mean, that's, we
Yeah.
knew exactly what page.
Yeah, and
they
probably
went
where it came
to
from.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Right, yeah, it's where it came from, what browser they used
yeah,
to get there.
yeah. So all that's very useful information. You really need to do it if you're going to put the time into it. But I agree. I think the links are important if it gets set up correctly. So with all the information, if somebody does a search, it doesn't take them around and around and around and around to get to the right spot.
Right, and I think also, whereas like the Turry Pond page has a map. I think with some of the other pages, we could also put a picture at the front, you know,
Yeah,
at the top.
I think a background picture on a lot of
Well, I don't know about a background picture, but at least it'll be
some,
something that's attractive and related to the page.
right. Yeah, I agree. It's not very appealing. Some of the pages aren't very appealing. They really don't make you want to. It would be nice to put movies and good stuff there that you could really, or slideshows.
The video, well, actually,
Or videos,
there's, I'll bring it up later, but I think you probably got emails about the BioBlitz that UNH is sponsoring in September. And they put together, it's not any or video, but they put together a video that you could kind of link to on your web page and stuff. So,
Yeah.
I did see that. So,
And I guess the other comment for, I said this last time, I think that the initial contact would might be directly to the
oh,
Share.
right. Well, we talked about trying to get seeing if it was possible to get the email moved up because
yeah.
it's not like the office really.
Somebody has to feel comfortable when, you know, who their manager is, you know, to send an email to the chair directly.
Okay. All right, Michael, do you have any
Maybe not.
suggestion? Okay, all right. So why don't we, do we want to, okay, I'm sorry. Don't mean to cut you off there.
I looked at several of them today that I had made notes about last night. And one of the things that I thought was really important that we have out there is similar to what Goffstown has regarding conservation options for landowners.
Right.
And it lists procedures, tax benefits, pros and cons,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a link.
Right, and that's what I put in the packet,
Okay.
right, that
All right.
document.
Good.
And I think that in the get involved, it might be good to have that as one of the things,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of land donation or monetary donation or.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good thing.
The other, well, I guess in Grantham, there was, they had an item called useful information. And it essentially was about invasive. So that was something that you Bob did mention. I just want to emphasize, I thought that was an important thing. There was another one which was actually similar to your second point about town-owned lands and things. There was conserved and town-owned lands. They had maps, trails, and descriptions, and it was real nice. I mean, I don't have it printed out here, but what they did have was a nice description of the property. I mean, it wasn't just a two-line type thing. It was a paragraph or two, and it just seemed like that's kind of information I would like to be able to find for the places here in town. And I'm sure it may be available. Part of it may be available through Bow Open Spaces. It may be somewhere else, but it would just be nice if we had a tab here so that somebody could look at those things and get that.
And what, so the tab would be,
Well, it's conserved in town-owned lands.
oh, okay.
And then related to that, it's maps, trails, and descriptions. And I found other sites where they had similar things. Actually, they had a map in one town. I don't remember where it was, but they had a map that showed the town, and it showed 5 different places. And then you could click on those, and you get something for, you know, that town forest, that park, you know, whatever it was. So it was kind of nice to be able to see the whole town with these things and then click and, you know, go to the information for that place.
Right, right, yeah.
And,
That takes something like a story, and probably would do that on the web probably.
And I guess one other thing that in Gilmanton, they had frequently asked questions. And, you know, actually they only showed 3 of them, but then I see they have a thing here called View All, so I didn't really get all of them. But they did have, you know, what does current use mean? What is a conservation easement, et cetera. So that's just another possible thing to throw in there. And then lastly, just, you know, I mean, just because I thought it was kind of nicely set up, was Harrisville, and it was mostly all narrative. So it was about the Conservation Commission, what they do, and then it got here opportunities in spring of 2021, talks about a salamander brigade crossing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Earth Day roadside cleanup, then they get a section on protecting wetlands, and it's got lots of information. It's got a map of the town, rain garden at the Harrisville Pond boat ramp, an activity that is happening there, protecting Harrisville's important aquifers, protecting Harrisville's historic spring. I mean, there were just lots of nice, you know, narrative items there. And it just, you know, might be something you might want to take a look at and see if there's anything there that catches your eye. But it was a, you know, it was a different way of addressing conservation commissions from, you know, most of them that had links on one side, minutes and agendas and, you know, people on the commission and all that kind of stuff. It just seemed more homey, I guess. But anyway, that's why I
Okay. And Wendy, do you have anything that you wanted to offer?
Well, I like what both Bob and Dick have said. So I was trying to write down the categories, and I think most of the things that Dick was mentioning could actually fit in those categories. And then I was trying to catch what Alvina was saying. She wasn't saying that we had to keep all of these. There was just certain of those things on the left that have to be kept, correct?
Yeah, yeah. And we can add, we're not limited to this number, we can add.
Right. So if we stick with whatever the required are and then, you know, change to those categories. And I agree also what people have been saying as far as the trails. I just think that's critical. And I don't know if it's, there was the thing that Bob had mentioned about management of town forests, but if we could change that to what Dick was saying of conserved and town-owned lands, then you could do more than the town forest. We could have all our lands, and when it would link to open spaces, you know, then those properties would, if there was more information, like if you could identify them all. Because I find the websites that are the most useful are the ones, I think people are interested in what your town-owned lands are and how they can go out. I mean, it's a big thing that people do is go out and recreate. I know we have open spaces that does that, but like you said, Sandy, we're, as a Conservation Commission, work closely with them. And I think people understand that connection. A lot of people, especially if they're new to town, they won't even know what open spaces is. So I think it's important to have that information on our website.
Right.
And then it sounded like we would get rid of Turry Pond as its own, correct? And then it would fall under this ponds and streams. Is that what you were saying, Bob?
Yeah, more like
Yeah.
surface kinds of things, yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense too. But Yeah, I think those categories that you identified, kind of everything can fit under them.
All right, so what I'm trying to do is to make a list of everything we're talking about, so we don't have to like, we can kind of move forward on this. I think there are a couple of things. One is, I was thinking that we, I know Bob, you had mentioned the natural resources management kind of for the NRI. And I would think that we should really just say natural resources inventory, and that's the tab. But there's some talk about management, just kind of do NRI as the tab. We talked about, some of this also will overlap with the NRI, with the conserved and town-owned lands, although we could also just make sure that that page either, has a map and then links from there, or, has the information and we have control over 100% of what goes on there.
Yeah.
So, we could do the conserved and town-owned lands.
I guess we can link to one of the storybook pages or.
Story map, yeah,
Story map, how
we'll
that works.
see, because I think if we want to have a description of, something on a map, it may be better for us to kind of, the story map will have that, but I don't think it will have exactly what we're trying to create.
As the individual map.
Or if we want to have a description, like a 2-liner of that, forest or whatever.
I was thinking to get to what Dick was saying, though, if you have a map and you go to an area and click on it and something comes up, I don't know that you can do that on the web page per se. Or whether you have to be done through the storybook.
The story map.
Story map.
You can actually you can. I forget, it's been a bunch of years because I looked into that stuff for another purpose. All right. I was thinking that like the invasives would be something we put under get involved.
So I think that would be a good place to have something that talks about the invasives, but I think under the ponds and streams, we still need to.
Oh,
mention
right.
The plan that we have regarding the invasives.
Right. See, I guess, while, I like the idea of talking about the ponds and streams. Turry Pond is such a major draw to people for fishing, for boating, for other stuff that
Motorcycle racing.
yeah, it's, which reminds me.
At least one day a week or a year.
One day.
Oh, right. So I hate to kind of bury Turry Pond in ponds and streams when it's just, there's a state boat ramp. If something only focuses, is important to Turry Pond, it kind of gets put there, whether it's milfoil or whatever. Let's see.
But if you do the ponds and streams, like Bob wanted, you couldn't just have another subfolder under that, the pond and streams, when the first folder under it would be Turry Pond, if all the information for that would be in there.
Yeah. I mean, that would be one way to do it. I sort of like having a kid. But I don't, what does everybody think? Would you rather have it Turry Pond under ponds and streams, or,
Oh, this is another thing, if we had data, so you could put it there and say, oh, well, nobody's hitting streams, let's just get them. I'd be okay if you want to do that.
because a lot of the stream stuff, I mean, we sample it like road crossing. I mean, you know, obviously the water quality thing is really important.
Right.
And we should probably, or have it turn
Okay,
off the surface water. Oh,
This is, yeah, so I just have a comment, and I'm thinking, ponds and streams I kind of don't like because I'm thinking small scale for everything. And we do have the Merrimack River that goes through Bow. So I don't know, and I don't think if you just have Turry Pond, it's, I suppose, you know, basically maybe that is, I mean, we also have the town pond, but that's kind of so, it's not that important to me. I don't fish and I don't live around it. So it's not like there's trails really. It's not like a lot of people, I don't think a broad range of people have access to Turry Pond. I don't know what people feel about that. So I think there's other, there's the whole watershed issue, the Bow Bog and Bow Bog Brook and the Merrimack River. There's a lot of other water resources in town that I think we need to draw people's attention to.
I agree, but I think, I mean, unless you go to Turry Pond, you don't see that Turry Pond is a major magnet for both Bow, Dunbarton, people around.
Massachusetts.
They fish from the shore, they fish from boats, you know.
What do people do that don't fish?
They go down there and they hang out, they bring their dogs, they sit in chairs and watch other family members fish.
Kayakers, tons of kayakers.
Kayakers, yeah, huge amount of kayakers. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's that, yeah.
It's, in fact, one of the things I've wanted to look into is having a use survey of that boat ramp done. And you know, I need to like talk to Fish and Game or somebody about having a survey done, because that place gets so much use. It always has, and it's got more use, you know, with the pandemic or people finally discovering it. It's like, wow, I didn't realize how.
And I'm not saying it shouldn't be set, you know, you shouldn't have a subpage or whatever talking about it, and that's not important. But so are we going to have Turry Pond and then we're going to have other water resources? I mean, that's just my thing is, I know you wanted to have access to it, but I don't know that it gets buried if it's one level under other water resources. But I don't, if you want to keep it there too, and then have other, you know, the other links to the other water resources, I think is just as important too. So it doesn't, if you want to keep it there too, it's fine.
I could go
I'm just trying to get these things through. Okay. I'm trying to think about with the surface waters, what we want to do. I mean, you know, there's Turry Pond, I mean, the Merrimack River, although I hear about people getting their cars broken into it and both for him.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure whether it's just, I just remember when I read it, but maybe it isn't that common, but, yeah, I guess I just want to try and balance with, you know, things that are important, you know, to us environmentally, but how are people gonna come to the site and, you know, get hooked into it? You know, I don't know if people are gonna get hooked into coming to ponds and streams, but I think if they use Turry Pond and other surface water resources or something, you know, it may kind of hook them in. And a lot of it is like that metadata. You know, I don't know, you know, does anybody ask us, okay, what tags do you want on that page?
Nobody
You know, like
has
I
them.
get from DES.
Yeah, I know.
DES, you know, we're always, okay, you have to come up with tags for the pages. And I don't know if, because that's
knows?
what helps drives searches and traffic and stuff. Or Turry Pond and other surface waters.
That's fine.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean, look at our picture.
Right, right, right,
You know, I mean, we chose there because it's the star of
right,
of
yeah,
the water
yeah,
resources of town.
right, right,
Yeah, I think it makes sense to put it that way.
Right.
Pond and others, but it would, but
Okay.
it, as far as the others go, I'd love to get more information on, you know, other places, plus get the information on the water, quality sampling that we're doing in town as well.
well, some of,
So, you know,
yeah, some of that has been on the website, but it's been the summary reports, right? I think we put the summary reports up every year.
but not even the reports, I mean, I'm not talking to
Yeah.
that, I'm just talking to the fact that we let people know that we are doing the sampling.
Mhm.
And then if they want, yes, they can link to those reports. But, you know, just in a general sense,
Right.
the fact that, you know, we're looking out for those folks.
Mm-hmm,
And maybe that leads somebody to get involved
right,
as
right,
well, you
right,
know? So,
sure,
I think, so somebody can identify, I'm in this watershed. My water goes here. And if we had something that could show a map of that even would be enough.
well,
Your
that's
perspective.
also in the story map, I mean, or one of the maps. It has the watershed.
Yeah,
Section on
Let's see, so with, town forests, do we wanna, should that go under the conserved and town-owned lands, we'll have a town forest,
I would-
yeah.
Forest, I guess. I know if we should have a list of all of them.
Well,
Where they're at, map of where they're at. and-
Well, yeah, and, well,
Wouldn't that be in line too? Or in town forest?
yeah, the thing is that it really gets buried. I mean, it'll be on a map, but I'm not sure how much it would stand out as this is a town forest.
Right.
And in fact, I did email, and I haven't heard back from Ron Komarzik about updating the forest management, the timber harvest plan.
He has a good map in front of it.
Well, he's got maps. Well, the thing is that there are maps for each town forest, but there aren't, first of all, the lines that he has on them are not trails. And they're not necessarily, they don't necessarily have trails. So that's one of the challenges with putting maps, because he does these really cool, stylized, the forestry maps. Which is great, but like I said, they're, you know, it's like those are skidder trails that are marked on here. They're not trails, although you go out to some properties and they are trails now. So we can take a look and see what we want to start with in terms of the forest, and, you know, once again, it's, because I don't want to put a map there if there aren't trails there that people can access. Is it, you know, then also people make their own trails. There's another, keep reminding myself of all these things that I want to follow. No, that's one of those. Okay. With the state permitting, I think that's where some towns had like links to like the Wetlands Bureau, or I know, alteration of terrain is a little bigger thing with the wildlife stuff now.
Then just gotta be that, the links part, where you do the.
Right.
Just give a link to DES, just give it to the homepage, and the person can go dig what they need.
Well, some of the towns have a little bit of an explanation. Here's when you need to contact them, here's when you need to contact them.
Yeah, but some of that stuff is so convoluted.
I don't understand.
There was, years ago, DES had that great got permits poster, but things have changed and no one has, they just haven't had the staff to recreate that. I've actually thought that we should really do something like that for town-related stuff.
Yeah. That'd be great.
And wetland CDP would be on it.
Yeah, the ES you said was really good one. Really wasn't very big, and it had do this.
It was a table, but it
Yeah,
was
nice
kind of
colorful thing.
organized. Yeah, they had some printed poster size and delivered them all around the state. With that. All right. I think maybe we need to think more on the permitting side of things. Because I think that both the town and state stuff for the wetlands, we probably need to find a way to present that and have that be obvious. And then we could, write a little blurb or have something that provide some guidance on that, because I know periodically there are people that are like, oh, I need a permit for that, and often it's like the trails type of stuff. All right. Let's see. So we would, let's see. So I think the maps will disperse by topic. Because I think some of them were trail maps. I think there were a variety of maps. Maybe there were links. Now, I guess the question is, so where do we want to put information about like the wildlife action plan? With a link to it, or there's a 8x11 map that you could actually put there. Now, like, sure, some of that stuff is in the NRI, but
Would that be like links of interest again?
yeah, I'm just thinking about highlighting more on maybe on the wildlife, having a wildlife tab. Or that's not kind of parallel with some of the others, but.
Wildlife action plan is kind of background information to me. I mean, can't know if I would somebody actually looking.
Well, yeah. Although, I guess.
Kind of background information we use to do the NRI.
Right, but it's, I guess, helpful for people to know about, how their community, the lands are considered in terms of value to wildlife.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the tab name. What was it?
Well, I was just saying, wildlife, but I don't know if we want to, or if we want to put wildlife under something else.
I think it would be good to have separate tab.
a tab for wildlife. Um,
That would be, if we did have that, it'd be nice to have listings of things that have been seen.
Right.
What all the birds been seen? What all the
right,
animals? That would be great. I don't know if we
Right.
have
Put
it.
something on that page and have to go submit what they said.
Yeah,
right. Well, the thing is that there are, in fact, one of the things with the Get Involved was whether we want to put a link to like iNaturalist, the app where people can, report what they find.
Mhm.
And the thing is that I think you can access a lot of that information even as a user unless somebody, has chosen to obscure the information. Okay. I've actually, on the Bow Community Facebook page, I've saved when people have, oh, bear on XYZ road, to try to plot that stuff. I haven't plotted it, but I've saved some of that just to get an idea for, then it's like, oh, that's the bear that came from Royal. All right. So I will just say, disperse the, and also some of those related documents, those were put there sort of, we've got a lot of the documents that an NRI consultant would have needed, and they needed to be up there also. So I guess the question is where should we put our prime wetland report?
well, I've done in natural resources, right? Or you were just gonna put the NRI under there?
Well, that's a good point. Maybe we'll put the prime wetland study there. Originally I was thinking NRI only, but it's probably a good place for it. All right. So right now I have conserved and town-owned lands. These are totally out of order where they show up. Get Involved, which might have invasives or other things. Torrey Pond and other surface waters, FAQs, NRI, wildlife, and links.
Can we have something there for the conservation options for landowners?
Well, I was thinking about I thought we might put under Get Involved. I think I want.
I like the idea of being top level and not being buried under Get Involved. Somebody may not be.
Right.
They may interpret Get Involved differently than, what can I do with my
Right.
land? Information, like I say, what Goffstown has regarding procedures, tax benefits, pros and cons. I mean, that's kind of the stuff that I'd like somebody to go to directly. If they've got property and they've got thoughts about it.
You want to just use that as that hurt.
Yeah, something
What's
like
it?
that.
The heading to conservation.
It's conservation options for landowners. And then we would have information behind it regarding procedures, tax benefits, pros and cons.
Easements and donations and all that.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah, right. So if somebody's, got some property and they were amenable to doing something with it.
Right. It would
Regarding
encourage.
conservation, all the information will be right here and it will be at the top level,
Right.
That's a good idea.
Okay,
And do you want a permits tab?
yeah, that's what,
And then on, in that tab, you have, here's list of the town permits and state permits.
mhm.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that with you.
And we could even have the tab labeled permits, town and state.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's see. 1, 2.
8 tabs?
So I have 9 tabs, and then plus it would be the agenda and minutes, join it or volunteer. And so those are the 2 that have to stay?
I guess, I think we have, let me check the planning board. I think the public meetings is on there. Yeah, see the 3, agenda, minutes, center, join a volunteer, and public meetings calendar. For some reason, that's the sacred trio. That has to
Right,
stay
but
on every
actually,
board.
okay, go back to the Conservation Commission.
Same
Oh, I
thing.
see,
Yeah,
I see the
the
public
3 of them.
meetings calendar.
I mean, eventually we may, I don't know if that's gonna change or not, if we're gonna drop them. That's the discussion that needs to happen amongst all the board keepers, I guess, of the website.
Right,
And we try to stay at least uniform on the first page.
yeah. Right,
And that was pretty much drilled into us when we were building this website, so.
okay. So we have for the conserved and town lands, conservation options for landowners, get involved, tree pond of the surface waters, FAQs, NRI, wildlife permits, and then probably links.
So we have 12 total, is that right?
Probably quite a few, and we'll see about the order of, of these that we're adding in, how we want to have them.
You said that alphabetically?
Yeah,
No,
it doesn't
no,
have to
no.
be.
I hate it.
This is, yeah, a mixture of first
Yeah,
and set up
actually,
as
those tabs on the
alphabetically.
side are not alphabetical. I think one of the other.
I think there's a way to choose not to, so you can play. with
Right,
it.
right.
I don't think
yeah,
that's
oh,
essential.
The most important thing that was hit all the time was like, fourth, second from the bottom or something.
It is important to order, because people are gonna reach out, so
Right,
if there's something we wanted to really.
right, especially if we're gonna have a longer list, you might not see them all at once,
Yeah.
so, you wanna make sure the important ones are there. Okay, I guess I'll send out this list, or we'll make sure the list is included to go out, and then I think that, and I guess people could choose now to like, okay, I will take a shot at suggesting what should be on X page or whatever, and look at what we have on the website now, that may need to move to that page, or what new stuff should we put on it? So, I don't know if anybody wants to.
It's not like Dick has conservation options pretty much nailed at this point.
I'll be happy to drill down on that one and get all
Second would be the
the
permit
stuff
one.
behind it.
Okay. Is there one that you'd like to?
There's tree, huh?
I can do Turk Pond.
And we actually need to choose more than one person, so I know that conserved and town-owned lands, conservation, well, okay, get involved, FAQs, NRI, wildlife, and links.
FAQs is nothing to do right at this point, right?
Well, Dick had mentioned about, current use.
Yeah, I can follow up on that one.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
there were more than the 3 that were showing
we may have some on the current use on the assessing website.
Oh, right,
You might wanna
right,
check there as well.
right. There may be something that could be linked to.
I mean, it's probably more of the, you know, application stuff and explanation, but it's still, you know.
Whatever it would.
It might be in the FAQs for the assessing center, that's what I'm saying,
Right.
we already have some format there.
The NRI, I'm assuming you won't do, there's not much to do there either at this point.
Right, other than like the prime wetland study should go there. And I'm gonna, I would probably look at the related documents that we have and see where they need to be dispersed. I mean, I think that probably everybody should take a look at those and see if there's anything that should be in their spot. All right, well, Bob, if you want to think that, let me know what you want to.
I could try to get involved.
Okay. Yep, that's good. I mean, we could also list like DLAP and
Yeah.
ERAP information there too.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll work on the conserved and town-owned lands because I have part of the town forest stuff. You know, I'll take a look at the NRI, whatever things.
I guess I could look at the wildlife one too.
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
We didn't hear you.
And
Oh, yeah, Wendy, what is?
no, that's okay. I'm just, we've like come from reducing it. Now we have all these, basically everything we have plus some. And that, like the wildlife, I don't understand why we're having a separate tab on wildlife, because what about like plants? You know, and why is?
Yep, no, that's a, flora and fauna.
Not good words.
I mean, instead of link, I really don't like links. So I don't know if you want to have something called other resources, or and that way you could put your documents and links in there as well.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where your wildlife action plan goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see if the wildlife turns out not to be, you know, a whole bunch
Put it
of.
under natural resources.
Well, we didn't do a natural resources tab. Oh, well, we do have the NRI. We made an NRI. So, you know, we think about that. Maybe it'll come together when we start looking at things in more detail. Okay, great, thank you.
So do you have one that hasn't been assigned, or that you want me to add to, or
I think
the category?
it was sort of like the other resources, which is really, I think, will be once we look at the others.
You want to do wildlife?
Well, I don't know what does Bo. I mean, other than what might be on, you know, when you go through the what is the thing, the the thing that everybody has to do.
The data check,
Right, and so it seems like we always have a couple that come up. I don't know if you want to identify, but other than that, I mean, is Bow unique in any way as far as their wildlife?
got a lot of Blanding's turtles.
Yeah, I would just think just take those items from the inventory and like have pictures of them, so somebody could identify if they saw one. Like, I mean, how many people would know what a Hondo's snake looks like? Or
Yeah, well, we were gonna get the story map to have
To
some
put
of
that
that,
in,
but I'm not sure that it will.
Well, and didn't we identify this as part of our NRI? Wasn't like wildlife something we wanted to include in this story map? I mean, I don't know that we need to be redundant if the story map's going to include it.
Well, there's the wildlife, the story map has a wildlife habitat map.
Yeah,
But it's basically, you know, the type of forests and you know, vegetation and stuff.
oh, we weren't talking about,
Well, we were talking about putting something in that text area, but I'm not sure how much we're gonna really end up with in that area. So I think let's look at, you know, some options for you know, what types of things would we put on that page? And if we think that there's not enough, then we can see how we will incorporate it elsewhere.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the NRI update, it ended up being, which it is in your packet, Jeff got back to me late, well, on Friday. You know, wants me to clarify the comments on the report. So I have to go through and do that. And then I guess he's a change of personnel at, you know, he's using students from the Antioch Spatial Analysis Lab. So he's going to have a new person to pick up where things got left off, and that includes the story map. So.
Do we have a date scheduled for the public meeting?
I was going to contact I wanted to call the school as far as finding out calendar-wise what dates to avoid. But I also have to corner Jeff into saying, okay, well, we have to set a date, and you know, what date are we gonna set?
What was his reaction to the money?
Well, actually, it's like Christmas Eve. I didn't, it was a month that I didn't hear from him until he sent me this on Friday. And I think he wants the comments clarified so he can kind of hand them to somebody else. But the thing is that there are things that, and I'll tell him that we talked about on the phone that, because it wasn't clear to me how he came up with the conservation focus areas. And so when I spoke to him about it, basically he used the three models that were developed, but then basically, you know, eyeballing the combination of the highest value ones.
You put different weighting factors on it. Who knows where they came from, right?
Well, the weighting factors were on those three models. and he gave us the information. That was where we tweaked it. We said the smaller streams don't, give it an extra point. Remember, because we said those are the drought streams that are that way. So, so when he explained that, I said, well, that's fine. It needs to be explained in the, in the, whether it's in the appendix, it doesn't have to be in the body, but it needs to be explained. It needs to be clear how that was done. And,
He's planning on finishing, right? Not.
yeah, but I want it sooner than later, at this point.
I'm starting to worry a little bit.
It's, it's gone on a little bit longer than we wanted. Yeah, so I will get back to him with comments that reflect his and my conversation, which, which I'll point to, like I said, because there were some things where I said it was, it was too much of a laundry list. It's like, well, yeah, don't tell me we reflected, we looked at these 50 things. That's not how you develop conservation focus areas. So anyway, so if anybody wants a copy of the email, I'll be glad to give you a copy. I just, he emailed me late Friday saying get it till Saturday. Okay, the Robinson Road Trail issue. Alvina, do you want to put up that, actually it's an image that a map that I created because I was out at the.
That the one?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you guys know the Robertson Trail or not. It's like a really wet section.
I hate that.
That's really bad. So normally it's the trail, the one coming in from like northwest going to southeast. And there are some of the little green dots. Those are the points I took, and that was this straight areas, the trail, and then the loop was that was the loop that they had proposed. But when they sent it to me, I said, well, what is the snowmobile club, goes into it? And then it's like, oh, we went and asked them, and of course they said they don't want to move. It's not a problem for them. The winter, it's frozen. It's,
Right.
And actually it's, dry a good part of the year, most of the year usually. So I think, so I don't know what anybody else's thoughts are. Several years ago, Hillary Warner's husband, Jeff, that they were involved in Spaces, had come up with some preliminary kind of scheme on how to, basically you would have to put some fill in that area with some cross culvert type of thing and just elevate it. And I can't remember what materials he was proposing or, what would be used. But my concern is that if you're going to keep the trail and then you're going to make another loop, and then if you're following the trails for people and wildlife approach, you're now making a bigger area where wildlife gets disturbed more often. Because that red buffer is a 60-foot buffer, and that's like the smallest buffer where they get disturbed, where wildlife gets disturbed. I don't know if that's the amphibian or I forget. But they look at 60, 150, and 400-foot buffers, and you put on the wider buffers, in terms of protecting wildlife, and everything runs together because there are a lot of trails out there.
Well, there's nothing to that side, though. The other trails are over to the left of the picture.
Right, but once you get to 400 feet, you start basically running into the backyards of the houses. You know, so you already have a human impact there that we're not looking at the buffer, you know, kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, if it goes out around that side, it's a fairly open area there for that cul-de-sac, I guess, up there. But, I mean, that's an awful spot.
It needs to be
And I
fixed.
take my dogs there quite a bit, and we avoid going in that direction. We, you know, loop into
Right, some of the other trails.
trails, which is, you know, it's okay, but, you know, when you come through to there, it's awful now. I mean,
Well, I was just there the other,
oh,
yesterday, I think.
yeah, okay, well, I bet it's absolutely worse than I've seen it. because
Right,
of all the
it's
rain
really
and
like
stuff.
the spring. I mean, it's you know, a good, I don't know, 4 inches of water
Mhm.
sitting there and stuff.
I mean, if there was a way to, as you say, raise and put a culvert through there
Right,
and get rid of that issue, then that would be great.
right, yeah.
You know, then you wouldn't be expanding
right. The footprint, the impact,
it's
right,
impacted, yeah,
right,
but something needs to be done.
right. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I think made it not move forward was that I think there was somebody who, a wetland scientist, who had offered to assist them, and he went and looked at it and said, "Oh, that's not a wetland."
Oh,
No, no, it is a wetland. And you can see on the kind of southwest side, you can see that big wetland there that's right there, and it really flows. In fact, you can really see the footprint that goes to the north too. Just the trail goes through the middle, and you know, I know the road's been there, or the trail's been there for many years, but anyway, I just think, and that we need to come up with a different solution than making a loop, a second loop. One of the Wetlands Bureau folks just went over the Trails Bureau, so I was thinking of Greg, and I was thinking of giving him a shout. Hi. Have any suggestions?
You think it could be elevated?
Yeah, I think having something that'll be elevated with like, you know, that would have some cross culverts in there, or that also would be maybe with rock, that would have some permeability as well, and then also have some culvert.
So Sandy, who would look into that, the cost for doing those different options?
Would look into what's that?
The cost.
Oh, the cost? Well, I think
Mhm.
the first part of it would be what designs would potentially work. And then I guess.
Right, so who, do they have people on Bow Open Spaces now that have that expertise, or
No, they don't.
do we need to get,
That's why they.
okay. So
Yeah, I,
DES would come out and help them, or
no.
no?
I mean,
No.
I would contact the person that I know who is now at the Trails Bureau, and see what suggestions they might have.
So you're saying, but you say it is a wetland, but DES says it's not?
Yes. Oh, it's absolutely a wetland. Yes, it would need a wetland permit. It would need a wetland.
Right. So wouldn't DES help out with solutions?
Well, they don't really design things. I think if you design something, they'll tell you whether it's okay or not. But they're not going to design it. The Trails Bureau.
But I don't think,
There's more.
but there's the Trail Bureau is gonna know about what they need to design to meet the wetland requirements?
Well, there are a couple of things. One is you have to design it so that it's gonna work to address the pedestrian issue and work for snowmobiles. So you then say, okay, what options are there for accommodating both types of traffic and also, you know, trail bikes and other things that come through. And so it's like, what are the options? And then you can look at, okay, you know, we could also go, or I could go to talk to the permitting inspector or arrange you know, an appointment and say, okay, we're thinking of doing this type of thing, you know, will that be fine? I mean, the thing is that this is an existing impact that we're trying to manage, and we're trying not to create a new impact elsewhere. So it's not like we're disturbing something that's undisturbed.
And the trail bureau should have some design standards, because they have a DMP type thing in their trail maintenance thing. So they'll have several options that they can look at.
Right.
Right. Corduroying it to, you know, French mattress idea. There's a couple different things they could do.
Yeah, I think corduroy won't work there.
But they have the whole list.
Right, you know, they do. Yeah, I was looking at the trail construction and maintenance brochure, but they're.
I mean, the other one is a rail to trail conservancy.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And you have a bike trail type manual.
I mean, the thing is that, yeah, we'd probably need to have a wetland scientist actually do a delineation for the permitting. That's probably the biggest issue in terms of the permitting.
If it's that bad, I'm surprised the snow machine club doesn't have a little bit of concern about it.
No, it's frozen, they don't care.
Yeah, but they run in the spring when it's halfway. And when they get to that point where they say trails closed, it's not, there's some frozen, there's some not.
Because there's some spots on the other side of Robinson Road that are worse. That, you know, you go into Europe to waste and mud and water, and they run the snow through all winter.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that
Yeah, it's not supposed to.
these trails, what happens is they get such heavy use in the winter that the ice is so compacted that the whole woods will be devoid of snow, and there'll still be an inch of ice on the trails. Because it's not, it's cold walking on the trails, and you have to use, you know, the spikes in
You
the
don't think
spring.
it's an issue then?
Yeah, it's not an issue for the snowmobiles. I mean, that's why they don't want it moved, because it's not a problem for them. And, you know, it's probably gotten worse over the years, and when I started to look at some things, there was some reference to, like, well, somebody called it trail sinking. I think the stuff gets more compacted. I think you get maybe the organic start.
Yeah, the water just sits, and it won't perfectly round anymore.
Right, yeah.
Pushes the frost line. It goes to more compacted.
Yeah. So,
It's getting vertical.
so,
Is it possible to just close it in the spring till
no,
it dries out?
no.
No?
The thing is that it just, I mean, we had rain, and it's now, you know, it's 4 inches of water. And all the
Oh,
trails
okay.
are fine, but that's like, you know, a big section. I mean, I
Okay.
want to go this, yeah, so it's not just the spring.
Okay.
Yeah. So is there agreement that we should try and seek a solution that goes on the existing trail?
Here's a question, I've forgotten what he wanted exactly. He wanted approval to actually move it.
Right, because,
So we're saying we won't approve that. So
Right, so I guess we should probably have a motion formally.
I guess I make a motion, we ask them to seek an alternate solution to the one they suggested.
Yeah, basically, the solution is keeping it in place.
In the same footprint. Someone want a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. So we've kind of turned it around. Okay. All right, let's see. I did want to mention the Turkey River Watershed Restoration and Management Plan presentation on Wednesday, August 25th. Did you get email about it? Okay.
They're gonna be in person? or-
No, it's on Zoom. Right. I did want to mention the, as I did earlier about that, the Bio Blitz, in September. I don't know if anybody has any ideas on how to, what we may want to do. I guess the question is, do we want to try and advertise that locally and do something on a date in September? That like a more formal Conservation Commission sponsor or event or something that we'll be there for?
I'm likely to be away a lot for September, so I can't volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
Back in school sports, but chaos. You would be really invited.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to as well, but I'm gonna be traveling,
Okay,
for a week or so.
okay.
And I'm not exactly sure the dates, but I believe it's like from the 15th to the 22nd.
Okay,
So if we
Okay.
did something earlier, that would be fine,
and actually Labor Day is late this
but,
year,
yeah, it is.
so that makes it even,
So,
or at the very end of the month, would that be a possibility?
yeah, I mean, I should, like I said, I should be back 23rd, 24th,
Okay,
I'm not exactly sure, but if it's from like the last week,
okay.
it happened.
And to do something on a Saturday or Sunday, or is there a preference or?
I didn't.
Okay. Okay, I'll check with, UNH and see what, I started looking at some of the materials on the website, but, we'll see what else we have there. Okay. Also wanted to remind people about the, in the end of September, the NHACC has a 50th celebration. I think you probably got emails for that.
Didn't that say September 11th?
Oh, yeah, actually, it is September 11th, that's right. Yeah. And let's see, the end of, I was looking at something else, the end of September, the Board of Selectmen has the annual meeting with committee chairs, so I think next month's meeting we'll talk about things to cover at that meeting that I usually go to. Last year, I think Wendy went to it for me. And then I'm in the process of doing an update for the conservation lands for Granite, because Granite asked to have the folks update their, provide any updates, I think, since it was done in 2019. So I have I had gone through a lot of actually what's mostly missing is a whole lot of the open space developments. The open space is not shown on the granite layer. So, that's, a bunch of them cost a few extra, like the Chadwick property that was donated and stuff.
Was Jeff going to, didn't he have some updates also on top of that?
Yeah, I did updates. When I talked to him, they just, they did a table that said whether something was protected, like fee-owned or conservation easement, but they didn't fill out any of the track data sheets for granite.
Okay. You did, oh, you did, okay, okay.
Well, I haven't done it. I haven't done it, but I finally got things printed so I can kind of sit down because I need to like look at the map and have a few things in front of me to fill in the information and stuff. And then Wendy had provided the link about the climate and microclimate article that was in the Monitor. And I guess we should do the minutes.
I looked at that map. If you look at the map, the microclimate thing, kind of interesting
Mhm.
for both. It
Yeah,
wasn't exactly where we thought it was, but it's pretty close.
right. Okay, yeah, I made some edits. Well, the top one was the milfoil treatment. About the additional locations. Then with the VLAP, I mentioned that, Bob, you were going out right after that.
Right.
And then I provided information from a reviewed website update that we were discussing then. So I guess we'll have to decide whether we want the annual reports on there or not, after all. A lake mapper, yeah, we'll have to. Well, I think when we dive into our different sections, yeah, maybe look at the,
And there's a stream mapper too.
well, the aquatic resource,
Map, you can,
the restoration
right?
map.
And then the VLAC one, I think it's a separate one.
Yeah, so, you want to roll up a little bit or down, whatever, further down the page. NRI update. I made some additional edits. I could go to that extend funding, see. Well, I think that might have been pretty much it. Anybody have any other changes to the minutes?
I guess on the when we voted on the minutes last time, we had that I was abstained because I wasn't present. I was actually just late on the second page.
Being late?
Previous meeting. I was at that meeting, I was just a little bit late.
But by the time the minutes were, you were,
It said I was
this is
absent.
voting on the minutes from the previous month.
That was from April.
Yeah, but I wasn't, it said I wasn't present at the
Okay,
previous meeting. I was just late. Am I
Okay.
reading it correct?
well,
I abstained because I wasn't there to know what the meetings, what the minutes
It's
were.
usually referring to the meeting of the April. So you were abstaining because you weren't at the April meeting? That's how I understood it.
I was late,
Okay,
late at the.
so you were late to that meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
tricky point.
okay. Trying to figure out which meeting we're talking about. All right. Someone want to move approval of the minutes? Recommended?
I move we approve the minutes as corrected.
Second?
I'll be happy to second that.
Okay, good. All those in favor? Aye. Great. You adjourned? Okay, thank you.
Bye, Wendy.
Take care, Wendy.
Wendy, where are you?
Well, I'm here, but can you see me?
Yes?
Oh, okay, I didn't know. I had turned off my video, but yes, I'm still here.
You in Idaho?
Yeah, I'm Boise.
Is it warmer? Must be warmer.
What's the temperature?
It's